Y uno de los temas clave, sin duda, en el siglo XXI y para las compañías es la gestión de capital humano, es decir, de las personas, porque finalmente en la economía del conocimiento lo más importante son los componentes de la compañía, que son ni más ni menos que las personas. Y uno de los aspectos importantes pues tiene que ver con inclusión, y por eso me da mucho gusto que está aquí esta tarde, aquí en el estudio, Terry Cooper. Ella es la U.S. National Chief Inclusion Officer de Deloitte. Terry, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
What should we understand by inclusion?
So for me, inclusion is really around creating an environment where every individual, irrespective of their gender, their ethnicity, their religion, their political beliefs, their sexual orientation, whether they have physical disabilities, that we're creating an environment where they all feel as though they can be included. And I always use the analogy because many organizations for years have been talking about diversity and the difference between diversity and inclusion. And diversity is like being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance.
That's a very good example. Le pregunto a Terry que qué podemos entender por inclusión y me dice justamente pues la atracción de talento, tener talento y respectivo o con independencia de cuál es su creencia política, social, si es hombre, mujer, preferencia sexual, etcétera. Y hace una gran metáfora, dice la diferencia, porque hace mucho tiempo estos temas se vienen hablando, entre la inclusión y la diversidad. Pues la diversidad es como que te inviten a la fiesta, pero la inclusión es que te inviten a bailar. Now, what is the main challenge from the point of view of Deloitte and around the whole corporate world of inclusion? Because as you say, we have been talking about this for many years, but the challenges are still there.
I think the biggest challenges are really around thinking about what it means to be an inclusive leader. We've talked a lot about diversity, but not really around what it means to be inclusive. And so we've recently published a new paper that really looks at the leadership traits that are really important for all individuals that are actually managing staff to actually think about how they can be the leader. And we've called them the 6 C's. The first one is around commitment, so having a personal commitment to being inclusive in everything that you do. The second is around being collaborative, because you can very easily pull together a diverse team, but that doesn't mean it's going to be inclusive. You really want to ensure that everybody has an equal voice and that you're encouraging everybody to provide their point of view, which means you need to be curious. So you need to be interested in individuals' backgrounds, really challenge them to feel that they can actually express their views and their ideas, which then means as we become more and more global, ultimately thinking about having cultural intelligence as well. People will only really feel included if you really understand their cultural heritage. And then the last two are around cognizance and courage. And the cognizance is really ensuring that people are aware of their bias and making sure that that doesn't come to the forefront around their conscious bias. And last but not least is really being courageous and feeling confident to call out behaviors that are not inclusive in order to ensure that everybody feels as though they can belong.
Me dice Terry que ellos, pues justamente es un tema que se ha venido discutiendo, le pregunto cuáles son los retos y me dice que ellos generaron un documento, o bueno, identificaron 6 cualidades con respecto a tener un liderazgo inclusivo, y tiene que ver con el compromiso para ser inclusivos, con la colaboración, porque se pueden tener equipos, pero eso no implica que puedan cooperar, el tema de tener apertura cultural, por supuesto también tener pues valor para poder enfrentar esto y ser muy consciente, algo que se llama pues autoconocimiento, digamos, para tener muy claras cuáles son los prejuicios que uno tiene y que cuando se tomen decisiones pues tratar de evitarlos lo más posible. Will you say that we are going backtracks or we are pushing forward in terms of this discussion and these 6 aspects?
So I think by changing the discussion around the inclusive traits that we're actually beginning to move forward, because historically I think what we did in the past is that we thought about diversity and so we would just focus on gender issues or would focus on ethnicity issues, and individuals would be together really in their silos as opposed to really bringing everybody together together to create that inclusive environment. So I think having that ability to have everybody as part of the conversation, to really think about as we get together, how do we actually drive that inclusive environment? We're already seeing that that's having a profound effect. And, you know, as I mentioned, the last two traits that I believe are the most important around the conscious bias and the courage. So really being aware that you're not biasing against, you know, if you happen to be a male, you're not biasing against women, or if you're a woman, that you're not actually biasing against other men. And then having the courage to call out those conversations.
Le pregunto que si vamos hacia adelante o hacia atrás, me dice que pues hay un avance con respecto a la discusión, esto que ya mencionaba, en función de la diferencia entre diversidad y por supuesto inclusión, y que bueno, pues esto tiene que ver justamente con los 6 elementos o las 6 características que se identifican en el liderazgo inclusivo, y que le parecen las 2 más importantes, por supuesto, esto de evitar tener prejuicios, ya sea un hombre con respecto a una mujer, que es lo más común, o una mujer con respecto a un hombre, pero también tener el coraje, digamos, el valor para poder enfrentar este tipo de situaciones. Now, what would you say in terms of the quotas? Because there has been a long discussion in terms of having, for example, as you were saying, not just the quota, but the integration and the collaboration, and talk about it. What is your point of view about that?
So I'm not a big supporter of quotas. I like to think about having aspirational goals. That doesn't mean that I don't believe it's really important that organizations should set goals and they should hold their leaders accountable to achieving those goals from the point of view of driving towards greater parity, certainly from a gender perspective. But I'm certainly not supportive of having hard and fast quotas because I think that has the risk of actually generating unnatural behavior. So, you know, no woman wants to feel as though they've been given a role just to fill a quota. We really want to believe that we've earned the role because we're as qualified as our male colleagues and that we have the experience to actually undertake that particular position to the best of our ability. But that does mean that other leaders need to provide us with the opportunity to be able to demonstrate our capabilities. So for me, it's around setting the aspirational goals, holding leaders accountable, but not tying ourselves to specific quotas.
Le pregunto a Terry qué opina de las cuotas, porque en estos temas pues se discute desde hace mucho tiempo, y me dice que ella no es particularmente, pues no le encantan las cuotas, aunque entiende que las compañías tienen que perseguir objetivos, pero más que cuotas, porque a nadie le gusta pensar, por ejemplo, a una mujer que tiene el puesto que tiene o la responsabilidad por cumplir una cuota, sino más bien porque tiene las capacidades, las características y por supuesto las habilidades, pero que esto tiene que ser acompañado por supuesto de un liderazgo que permita que esto ocurra, es decir, que no haya necesidad de cuotas, pero que sí haya una inclusión sin prejuicios. Terry, what company would you say is very inclusive in the United States? What would be a good example that we can see and it can be an inspiration?
So I would say Deloitte is very inclusive in the United States. Many of the large Silicon Valley companies are really taking the forefront. So we work very closely with companies like Salesforce and Dell that are really sort of driving a lot of the initiatives really from the point of view of really looking at ways in which they can be inclusive, along with many of the financial institutions. I think if you take something like JP Morgan Chase, for instance, they're very vocal in around this topic, and with Jamie Dimon are really driving the discussion and demonstrating that they're serious about really driving an inclusive environment.
Le pregunto a Terry que en las compañías de Estados Unidos, pues cuál es un buen ejemplo, una inspiración con respecto a los temas de inclusión. Me dice que obviamente Deloitte, evidentemente, pero también me dice que las empresas del Silicon Valley han avanzado mucho. Por ejemplo, Salesforce es una con las que ellos trabajan, pero también, por supuesto, las empresas financieras, y ahí habla de Jamie Dimon, el director de JP Morgan, que ha detonado mucho esta discusión y este diálogo con respecto a este asunto. Now, around the world, we tend to talk about the Scandinavian countries in terms of inclusion. Would you say that they are more advanced, or where is the country in the world which has the I mean, it's closer to the inclusion.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the Scandinavian countries have been on this journey a lot longer. I mean, we've, at Deloitte in the US, we've been on the journey for 25 years, but as I mentioned, it was very much around the sort of the diversity. I would say a lot of the Scandinavian countries are probably ahead of the game with respect to really driving inclusion. If we think about Iceland in particular, around their ability to really look at gender parity, they've really made some phenomenal gains. And many of the other Scandinavian countries, Norway, etc., have certainly taken the lead in that regard.
Le pregunto que, bueno, siempre se piensa mucho en los países escandinavos cuando se piensa en temas de inclusión y me dice que sí, que llevan pues un camino largo recorrido, que por cierto en Deloitte llevan 25 años, un cuarto de siglo hablando de este asunto y por supuesto el caso de Islandia es uno de los que más destaca. Besides the two traits, being courageous and eliminating the biases, what would you say is another very important trait in terms of beginning, when a CEO or a company realize that it has to have this discussion? What could be the first?
I would say the most important there is the commitment, because you're really not going to affect change unless you have the commitment at the most senior levels of a company or an organization. So the CEO and their direct reports and the board really understanding that inclusion is a strategic imperative and they're committed to actually making that change. And then they're supportive of setting aspirational goals that they then hold each other accountable to achieve. So that, to me, is the most important in that regard as you get started, is not only recognizing it from a business commitment, but also that all leaders see it as a personal commitment to move the needle.
Terry, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Le pregunté a Terry, por último, que más allá de los dos características que dimensionaba entre las 6 características de la inclusión, dice que la más importante es el compromiso y decía un concepto muy importante, no puedo traducir todo, pero dice que sea un imperativo estratégico para las empresas y eso que esté a nivel del presidente ejecutivo, pero por supuesto el Consejo de Administración. Terry, thank you.
Thank you.
Vamos a hacer un corte, regresamos con más.